As we dive into this new chapter of the Kybalion, we find ourselves on the threshold of one of the most profound philosophical teachings, the law of cause and effect. This law, foundational to Hermetic philosophy, is not just an abstract idea, but a living principle that governs all aspects of our reality. To truly grasp the significance of this principle requires focus and deep reflection. The Kybalion, a book of ancient wisdom, invites us to explore universal laws that have been passed down through millennia, wisdom that has shaped great minds, from Plato to Nietzsche. Understanding the Kybalion isn't an overnight task. This is a text that demands the reader's full engagement. The Hermetic principles require concentration and internal exploration to comprehend their depth. As we embark on this journey through Chapter 12, it's important to approach the text not just as intellectual material, but as a guide to living a more harmonious and purposeful life. In this chapter, the concept of causality comes into sharp focus, cause and effect in its purest form. Every action, every thought, is a cause that leads to an effect, shaping our personal destiny. This chapter calls on us to reflect on the nature of wisdom itself. It encourages us to take the responsibility of passing knowledge forward, just as the Hermetic tradition has done for centuries. The Kybalion is not merely a book. It's an invitation to embody wisdom and become a vessel through which this ancient knowledge can flow. In understanding causality, we understand the deep connection between all things. The law of cause and effect is the foundation upon which we can build a life of balance, awareness, and purpose. The beauty of Hermeticism lies in its timeless relevance. Written in the early 20th century, the Kybalion draws upon the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus, a figure whose wisdom transcended ages and cultures. The text doesn't just reflect intellectual thought. It serves as a practical guide to navigating life's complexities. Chapter 12 continues to emphasize the connection between inner wisdom and outer action, encouraging us to integrate these teachings into every aspect of our lives. It's a call to action for those who wish to live intentionally, creating ripples of change through conscious decision-making. As we delve deeper into the law of cause and effect, let's recognize its profound implications for both our individual and collective existence. The impact of our choices, whether big or small, ripples out into the world, shaping our futures and influencing others in ways we may not always see. This law doesn't just govern individual lives, it governs the interconnectedness of the cosmos. Each cause we set in motion is an invitation to reflect on our responsibility in this vast network of life. Chapter 1. The nature of knowledge and its transmission. In the Kybalion, knowledge isn't just about acquiring facts or information. It's about understanding universal truths that govern the universe and applying them to our lives. The text invites us to embrace not only the power of knowledge, but also the responsibility that comes with transmitting that knowledge. As we read the words of Hermes Trismegistus, we are reminded that wisdom is something to be passed forward, a legacy of teachings meant to illuminate not just the individual, but the collective consciousness of humanity. The Kybalion itself was written in the early 1900s, yet it draws deeply from ancient wisdom, particularly from the Hermetic tradition, which spans back to the Egyptians. This blend of modern insight and ancient teachings reinforces a key point. Knowledge is timeless, and its value is not diminished by the passage of time. While modern tools and technologies may advance, the universal laws that govern us remain constant. The Kybalion teaches us that true wisdom transcends the era it was written in. It is applicable across all ages, cultures, and civilizations. In our modern world, however, it's easy to fall into the trap of disregarding older forms of wisdom simply because they may not fit into our current worldview. Many people today turn to the internet, popular culture, or mainstream institutions for guidance, while neglecting the lessons of philosophers like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, whose thoughts continue to shape our understanding of life. But the Kybalion challenges us to discern the true value of knowledge, not based on its age, but on its universal applicability. It encourages us to question everything and to think critically about the wisdom we choose to follow. This brings us to a crucial point. Critical thinking is essential for the proper transmission of knowledge. It's not enough to simply absorb information. We must engage with it, analyze it, and integrate it into our understanding of the world. The Hermetic philosophy presented in the Kybalion invites us to be active participants in our learning rather than passive consumers. To truly grasp the concepts within Hermeticism, we must reflect deeply on them and apply them to our daily lives, so they become not just intellectual concepts but living truths. In today's world, where attention spans are short and distractions are many, it's increasingly challenging to engage with philosophical works like the Kybalion in a meaningful way. Yet, this is precisely why this knowledge is so crucial. The modern age has lost much of its depth in favor of convenience. The Kybalion offers us a chance to slow down, to contemplate, and to integrate timeless wisdom into our rapidly changing world. It reminds us that true learning comes not from speed, but from depth, deep thought, critical reflection, and the integration of ancient wisdom into our daily lives. Chapter 2. Understanding the Law of Causality. The Law of Causality, one of the core principles in the Kybalion, tells us that every effect has a cause, and every cause produces an effect. It may sound simple, but this principle has profound implications for how we view the universe and our place within it. Most people believe in randomness, assuming that certain events happen by chance, but this is an illusion. The Kybalion reminds us that there is no true randomness in the universe. Everything happens for a reason and is part of a greater order. The concept of causality invites us to see that the universe operates in a highly ordered, interconnected way. Nothing is isolated. Everything influences everything else. This is a key lesson of Hermetic philosophy. Nothing in nature is random. As Henri Poincaré put it, chance is a measure of our ignorance. What we perceive as chance is simply our inability to understand the deeper forces at work behind every event. When we learn to perceive those forces, we realize that life is governed by cause and effect at every level. In our daily lives, we see this law at work all the time. Our actions, thoughts, and emotions ripple out and create effect that we often don't see immediately. The Kybalion teaches that the thoughts we entertain and the choices we make today have a direct impact on our future. Every moment we are creating causes, whether we're aware of it or not. The beauty of causality is that it empowers us to take responsibility for the world we create. By recognizing the law of cause and effect, we become active participants in our own lives, rather than passive bystanders. It's easy to feel like life is just happening to us, but the truth is, we are the ones creating the causes that shape our lives. The Kybalion invites us to examine the choices we make and how those choices shape the effects we experience. If we want to change our circumstances, we must first understand the causes we've created. Causality isn't about fate or destiny. It's about awareness and conscious choice. We are in control, but it requires constant reflection and awareness of the decisions we make every day. In practical terms, understanding causality means recognizing that everything we do has consequences, small or large. Our thoughts, actions, and words all set causes in motion that influence not just our own lives, but also the world around us. By becoming more mindful of the causes we create, we gain the power to shape our future. The Kybalion teaches that life is not just about chance. It's about understanding the laws that govern us and using them to create a life of intention and purpose. Chapter 3. The Role of Karma and Cause-Effect Relationships. The law of causality directly connects to the concept of karma, which is a central idea in many philosophical traditions, including Hinduism and Buddhism. In the Kybalion, this relationship between cause and effect is expanded, showing us that the actions we take, the thoughts we entertain, and the emotions we feel create a ripple effect that shapes our future experiences. Karma is not just a spiritual concept. It's the living manifestation of a law of cause and effect in action. Every cause we generate sets in motion an effect that will eventually return to us. Understanding karma requires a shift in perspective. Life is not just a series of random events. Every event we encounter is a result of previous causes, whether they be from this lifetime or from previous ones. The Kybalion teaches that these causes are often rooted in the unconscious mind, and so understanding them requires deep self-awareness. The more we learn about ourselves, the more we can recognize the causes that we have set in motion in the past and actively work to correct or redirect them in the future. In this way, we start taking responsibility for our own destiny. The law of karma is not about punishment or reward in a simplistic sense. It's about learning and growth. Karma teaches us that life events are not random, but are part of a greater cosmic order. When we experience suffering, it's often a result of past actions, whether from this life or a previous one. But suffering isn't meant to be a source of despair. It's an opportunity for us to learn, to transmute our negative energy, and to grow in ways we hadn't considered before. Every effect, whether positive or negative, offers a lesson in spiritual evolution. In the context of the Kybalion, karma is an opportunity for self-transmutation. We have the ability to transmute negative karma by shifting our thoughts, actions, and emotions. When we learn to align with higher principles, we can reduce the negative effects we encounter and instead create positive causes that lead to greater harmony and growth. By consciously choosing to act with wisdom and discernment, we begin to understand the law of karma as a tool for spiritual development, rather than an inevitable, unchangeable force. One of the key insights of karma is the idea that the universe always provides us with the opportunity to correct our mistakes. It's easy to feel trapped by our past actions, but the Kybalion offers us a profound teaching. Every cause we set in motion can be transformed. Karma doesn't have to be something that defines us forever. It can be something we learn from, and in doing so, we rise to higher states of awareness and personal growth. By embracing the law of causality and karma, we can truly shape the future we want to create. Chapter 4. The Illusion of Chance and the Order of the Universe. In the Kybalion, one of the most profound teachings is the idea that what we perceive as randomness or chance is, in fact, an illusion. The law of cause and effect reveals that every event is part of a larger order, and nothing happens by pure accident. Even events that seem completely random are part of the interconnected web of existence. And the more we understand this, the more we can align ourselves with the universal laws that govern the universe. The idea that the universe is based on order rather than chaos is not only central to Hermetic philosophy, but also to the metaphysical truth that underpins all reality. The Kybalion teaches that if we take a close look at the world, we'll notice that even the most seemingly random events follow patterns. This is seen in everything from the cosmic cycles to natural rhythms in life. The universe is a vast system, and nothing exists in isolation. Fritjof Capra, in his work, underscores that complex systems, like human society or even the natural world, do not emerge from random accidents. They are instead the result of underlying principles, just like the principles outlined in the Kybalion. This order is evident when we examine the natural world and its cyclical nature. Tides, seasons, and even historical cycles demonstrate the rhythmic flow of the universe. The Kybalion teaches us that if we understand the principle of rhythm, we begin to see that everything has its season, its time of growth and decay, and its inevitable return. Life and death, creation and destruction. These cycles repeat themselves, not randomly, but according to the laws of nature that govern the cosmos. If the universe were truly governed by random chance, life would be chaotic and unpredictable, lacking structure and meaning. But the Kybalion asserts that order is the fundamental foundation of existence. By understanding that everything in the universe is interconnected, we can begin to perceive the patterns that guide our lives. Once we align ourselves with this universal order, we can make conscious decisions that work with the natural flow of the universe instead of against it. This is the essence of spiritual evolution, learning to live in harmony with the laws of nature. The illusion of randomness also affects how we view our personal experiences. Many of us feel that we are merely reacting to life rather than actively creating it. However, by embracing the principles in the Kybalion, we can see that our actions are part of a greater cosmic flow. This recognition allows us to break free from the belief that we are powerless in shaping our lives. Instead, we begin to see that everything we do, every thought, word, and deed, contributes to the order and direction of our existence. By understanding the laws of cause and effect, we regain control over our future and embrace the certainty that everything happens for a reason. Chapter 5. Cause and Effect in Personal and Collective Life. In the Kybalion, the principle of cause and effect is not just a personal lesson, but a universal law that affects both our individual lives and the collective experience. Every action, thought, and emotion we create sends out a ripple that affects not only ourselves but also those around us. This interconnectedness emphasizes that no one is isolated. Our choices, big or small, contribute to a larger web of causes and effects that shape the world. The Kybalion urges us to understand the profound impact of our decisions on the world, for they extend far beyond what we might perceive in the moment. The idea of the domino effect is a perfect metaphor for this principle. Imagine setting up a line of dominoes. The first push sets off a chain reaction, toppling every piece in its path. Similarly, every action we take has consequences that can create positive or negative effects in our lives and the lives of others. This chain reaction is often unseen, but the Kybalion teaches us that understanding the law of causality allows us to make more conscious decisions, which can lead to greater harmony in the world. The Stoic philosophers, such as Marcus Aurelius, emphasize the importance of recognizing the domino effect in our actions. They believe that small decisions could lead to eternal consequences. The Kybalion mirrors this thinking by teaching that we are the creators of our own lives. The choices we make today set the stage for our future experiences. Nothing is insignificant, and every action, no matter how small, plays a role in the larger story of our lives. The Kybalion reminds us to be mindful of the energy we send into the world, as it will inevitably return to us in one form or another. Understanding cause and effect at the collective level is equally important. Just as individual actions create a ripple effect, society's collective choices also have profound consequences. Whether it's a social movement, a political decision, or the collective values of culture, these causes shape the society we live in. The Kybalion teaches that the collective consciousness is a reflection of the individual consciousness. In this sense, as each person works to master themselves, the world around them begins to shift as well. This understanding of cause and effect can be both empowering and humbling. It reminds us that we are not merely passive observers of the world around us, but but active participants in shaping our reality. The Kybalion calls on us to take responsibility for our actions and thoughts, knowing that the effects we create extend far beyond ourselves. By aligning with the universal laws, we can make choices that not only improve our lives, but also contribute to the collective well-being of humanity. Chapter 6. The Interconnectivity of the Cosmos. One of the most profound teachings in the Kybalion is the concept that the universe is interconnected. There is no absolute separation between the large and the small. This principle of interconnectivity reminds us that every part of the cosmos, no matter how seemingly insignificant, is deeply linked to everything else. The Kybalion teaches that we are not isolated beings. Rather, we are part of a vast, unified whole, and our choices, thoughts, and actions have far-reaching consequences that extend beyond our immediate environment. When we think about the interconnectedness of the universe, it's helpful to consider the metaphor of a web. In a web, each thread, no matter how thin, contributes to the overall structure. If one part of the web is disturbed, it affects the entire system. Similarly, each of our actions is a thread in the fabric of life, and every choice we make, no matter how small, has a ripple effect that impacts the whole. This interdependence is a central tenet of Hermetic philosophy, and it reminds us that we are all part of a greater cosmic dance, a dynamic flow that is constantly shifting and evolving. In practical terms, this means that everything is connected. Our thoughts and emotions don't just exist within us. They radiate out into the world, affecting those around us. Whether we're aware of it or not, we are constantly influencing the collective energy of humanity. The Kybalion encourages us to be mindful of the energy we put into the world, because it will inevitably come back to us. In this sense, we are not just responsible for our own lives. We are part of the larger, interconnected flow of existence that shapes the collective consciousness. The interconnectivity of the cosmos also teaches us that our actions are part of a greater order. Nothing exists in a vacuum. The cause and effect we experience on a personal level is also part of a larger universal pattern. Just as stars and planets interact in an intricate cosmic dance, so too do we, as individuals, play our part in this grand scheme. The Kybalion reminds us that the universe operates as a unified whole, and understanding our place within this system is essential to personal growth and spiritual evolution. This principle challenges the illusion of separateness that many people live under. We often perceive ourselves as individuals in a world of separate entities, but in truth, we are all intricately connected to one another and to the entire cosmos. The Kybalion urges us to embrace our interconnectedness and use it as a source of strength, wisdom, and understanding. When we align ourselves with the universal laws and recognize the interdependence of all things, we begin to tap into the cosmic flow that supports all of existence. Chapter 7. Free Will versus Determinism. One of the most compelling discussions in the Kybalion is the debate between free will and determinism. On the surface, these two concepts appear to be in direct opposition. Free will suggests that we have complete control over our actions, while determinism implies that our actions are predestined by external factors or cosmic laws. However, the Kybalion presents a more nuanced view. Both free will and determinism exist simultaneously, and the key to understanding their relationship lies in the principle of polarity. According to the Kybalion, the law of polarity shows us that opposites are actually the same thing, just expressed at different degrees. In the context of free will and determinism, this means that free will operates within the boundaries set by universal laws, but it is still free to choose how to act within those laws. The idea is that while the effects of our actions are determined by the law of cause and effect, the causes we create are within our control. In this sense, we can choose how to respond to the circumstances of our lives, even if the events themselves are influenced by forces beyond our control. One way to think about this is through the metaphor of planting seeds. You don't control the weather, the soil, or the passage of time, but you choose the seeds you plant. The seed represents the cause, your choice. The growth of the plant represents the effect, the outcome of your choice. While the growth is influenced by external factors, the weather, the soil, etc., the decision to plant the seed was entirely yours. The Kybalion teaches that we are responsible for planting the seeds of our lives, and that the effects of those seeds, our life experiences, are shaped by both external laws and our personal choices. Helena Blavatsky, a figure in theosophy, offers another insight into this debate. She suggests that free will only operates in the domain of causes, not in the domain of effects. In other words, while we have the power to choose the causes we set into motion, our thoughts, words, and actions, the consequences, the effects, are determined by the laws of the universe. This means that while we can direct the course of our lives, we must accept that the consequences of our actions will unfold according to natural laws, and we must live with those consequences. Ultimately, the understanding that free will and determinism coexist allows us to transcend the binary thinking that often limits us. Instead of seeing ourselves as either fully free or completely controlled by fate, we recognize that we are both creators and participants in the cosmic dance of life. The Kybalion challenges us to align our free will with the universal laws, so that we can create the most positive effects possible within the natural order. By doing so, we not only empower ourselves, but also become conscious co-creators of our own destiny. Chapter 8. Mass Consciousness and Individuality. In the Kybalion, one of the most thought-provoking ideas is the conflict between mass consciousness and individuality. Most people, according to Hermetic teachings, operate on autopilot, following societal programming without questioning their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. This unconscious state leads to conformity, where individuals act in ways that are influenced by social norms, family expectations, and cultural scripts. The Kybalion challenges us to wake up from this collective trance and embrace our individuality, urging us to question the beliefs that have been handed down to us without critical thought. The man-clock metaphor in the Kybalion is a powerful illustration of how most people live their lives by default, moving through the world as though they are simply ticking off the seconds, minutes, and hours in a predetermined routine. Just like the gears in a clock, the actions of many people are mechanical, dictated by the external environment rather than by their own internal decisions. When individuals follow this path without self-awareness, they become like automatons, trapped in a system where their choices are not truly their own. This is where the principle of individuality comes into play. True intelligence is the ability to distinguish one's authentic self from the conditioned responses and external pressures that define the mass consciousness. The Kybalion teaches that it is only when we gain self-awareness, through the active process of individuation, that we can begin to reclaim our personal power. Individuation is the process of becoming the person we're truly meant to be, not by following the dictates of society, but by aligning with our true nature, understanding our deeper desires, and developing our unique potential. This journey of self-discovery requires a conscious effort to peel back the layers of societal conditioning. It's about stepping back and asking ourselves, who am I really? Are we living our lives based on our own values? Or are we just playing out a role given to us by society? The Kybalion teaches us that mass consciousness can be an invisible force that shapes how we think, act, and perceive the world. But we also have the ability to rise above it and create our own path. Self-awareness is the key to this process. By becoming aware of our inner world, we gain the power to shape our outer reality. At the heart of the Hermetic teachings in the Kybalion is the belief that we are not slaves to external forces. We are creators of our own lives, and by recognizing the role of individuality in shaping our destiny, we begin to see the world in a new light. The Kybalion urges us to be conscious of our choices and to break free from the influence of the mass consciousness so that we can live authentically and fully embrace our unique potential. The road to true self-mastery begins with awakening to our individuality, which, in turn, allows us to transcend the limitations of the collective mind. Chapter 9. The Role of Masters in Transcending Causality. In the Kybalion, spiritual masters are portrayed as individuals who have not only understood the laws of causality, but have learned to transcend them. These masters, such as Buddha, Socrates, and Leonardo da Vinci, were not simply products of their environments. Rather, they actively shaped their own paths, rising above the constraints of the laws that govern the material world. They demonstrated that by aligning with higher principles, it is possible to move beyond the limitations imposed by cause and effect and to live in a state of spiritual freedom. The Kybalion teaches that the key to transcending causality lies in the understanding of higher universal laws. While the law of cause and effect operates in the material world, there are higher laws, such as the laws of vibration and rhythm, that govern the spiritual and mental planes. Spiritual masters are those who have mastered these higher laws, using them not as tools of manipulation, but as means of harmonizing their inner and outer worlds. By aligning themselves with the cosmic order, they transcend the effects of their actions, no longer bound by the usual consequences of their choices. An essential aspect of this transcendence is the willingness to release attachment to material conditions. Masters like Buddha and Socrates understood that true freedom comes not from controlling the external world, but from mastering the internal world. The Kybalion teaches that those who focus on inner peace and spiritual growth are able to rise above the usual cycles of birth and death, joy and suffering, and gain and loss. By shifting their consciousness to a higher plane, they become detached from the physical world's fluctuations, allowing them to maintain their equilibrium regardless of external circumstances. One of the key aspects of transcending causality is the ability to live in alignment with universal wisdom rather than simply reacting to external stimuli. The Kybalion suggests that spiritual masters are those who have cultivated the wisdom to act in perfect harmony with the higher laws of the universe, bypassing the need for reactive responses. Instead of being pushed and pulled by the chaos of the material world, they are guided by purpose, intention, and a deep connection to the divine essence that flows through all things. This level of mastery is achieved through years of self-discipline, self-reflection, and alignment with universal principles. Ultimately, the role of spiritual masters is not to demonstrate superiority, but to show us what is possible when we align with the higher laws of the universe. The Kybalion teaches us that we too can transcend causality by focusing on self-awareness and spiritual evolution. By mastering the mind, we are not subject to the whims of fate, but become conscious creators of our own lives. Through the teachings of masters, we learn that true freedom comes from understanding and aligning with the universal laws, allowing us to transcend the cycles of cause and effect and live in a state of spiritual harmony. Chapter 10. The Metaphor of the Table and the Suspension Above It. In the Kybalion, there is a powerful metaphor that emphasizes the importance of anchoring oneself in higher principles. The metaphor of the table and the suspension above it. This metaphor compares those who base their security on external things, such as money, status, or relationships, to a table resting on four legs. When one of the legs is removed, such as through the loss of wealth or relationships, the table collapses. On the other hand, those who anchor themselves in higher principles, like virtue, wisdom, and spiritual values, are like a person who can stand tall, suspended above the table. They are not dependent on external conditions for their sense of security or self-worth. This concept aligns with the Hermetic principle that true power comes from within. The Kybalion teaches that those who ground themselves in the immutable laws of the universe are free from the instability of material conditions. External circumstances, such as financial loss, societal status, or physical challenges, cannot shake them because they are rooted in something eternal and unchanging: universal wisdom. By focusing on self-mastery and internal peace, they remain solid despite the external fluctuations of the world. The metaphor of the table illustrates the instability that comes with basing one's life on external factors. In today's world, we often rely on things outside ourselves, like our job, possessions, or relationships, to give us a sense of purpose and identity. But when these things change or are taken away, we can feel lost, unstable, or disconnected from our true self. The Kybalion urges us to focus on developing inner strength, which allows us to withstand life's challenges with grace and resilience. Those who live by this principle do not crumble when circumstances change. Instead, they rise above them, grounded in their inner wisdom. The power of suspension above the table also speaks to the idea of detachment. By detaching from material attachments and focusing on higher ideals, we free ourselves from the constant pendulum swings between success and failure, pleasure and pain. The Kybalion teaches that true mastery comes when we detach ourselves from the transient and focus on the eternal. When we anchor ourselves in truth, virtue, and wisdom, we stand strong and unshaken, even in the face of life's unpredictable nature. Ultimately, this metaphor encourages us to look at the foundations upon which we build our lives. Are we constructing our sense of security on external, fleeting things, or are we building it on timeless principles that cannot be taken away? The Kybalion teaches that when we ground ourselves in self-awareness, wisdom, and universal truth, we become like the person standing above the table, unaffected by the ever-changing external world, empowered by the deep, unshakable foundation of our inner knowledge. Chapter 11. Conclusion and Practical Implications of Causality. The principle of cause and effect, as presented in the Kybalion, is one of the most profound teachings of Hermetic philosophy. The law of causality reminds us that everything we do, think, and say has a consequence, whether we are aware of it or not. We are constantly generating causes that will shape our lives and the lives of those around us. In essence, no one escapes this law. We are all actively participating in the unfolding of our own destiny through the choices we make. The Kybalion urges us to take conscious control of the causes we create, as they determine our future experiences and the quality of our lives. The key to spiritual evolution and personal growth lies in conscious awareness of the causes we set into motion. When we become mindful of our thoughts, actions, and emotions, we begin to recognize how our choices affect not only our lives, but also the lives of others. This awareness allows us to align ourselves with the universal laws and make decisions that serve our highest good. Instead of reacting to life as a series of random events, we begin to see the purpose in every experience. Each situation, no matter how challenging, is an opportunity to learn and grow, to master ourselves, and to transcend the limitations of our past actions. One of the most practical implications of the law of causality is the need for self-reflection. By regularly examining our thoughts, behaviors, and emotions, we can begin to identify the patterns of cause and effect in our lives. This practice of self-reflection allows us to see where we are unconsciously repeating old patterns and where we can make new, conscious choices. The Kybalion teaches that by consciously choosing our actions, we can begin to change the course of our lives. We can break free from undesirable cycles and create new opportunities for growth, transformation, and success. Additionally, the law of causality encourages us to take responsibility for our lives. Instead of blaming external circumstances or other people for our problems, we're taught to look within and ask, what part did I play in creating this situation? This level of personal accountability is essential for spiritual growth, as it allows us to see how our choices, both big and small, have shaped our reality. By accepting responsibility for our own actions, we empower ourselves to make different choices in the future and to create a more positive, fulfilling life. Finally, the Kybalion teaches that the key to wisdom is in the deliberate construction of the self. Self-mastery is not a passive state, but an active process of choosing who we become day by day. By understanding the law of causality and the universal laws that govern our reality, we gain the tools we need to construct our lives with intention and purpose. We can consciously choose the causes we set into motion, knowing that each choice, each action, and each thought will have a consequence. By aligning ourselves with the higher laws, we can create a life of meaning, balance, and spiritual fulfillment. Chapter 12. Final Thoughts and Next Steps. As we conclude our exploration of cause and effect in the Kybalion, it's essential to reflect on how this principle can be practically applied to our daily lives. The law of cause and effect is not a mere theoretical concept. It is a guiding principle that governs our experiences. Understanding it empowers us to take conscious control of the causes we create, ensuring that we align our actions with universal laws and higher wisdom. The Kybalion invites us to take full responsibility for the choices we make, recognizing that the effects of our actions are not arbitrary, but the natural result of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. One of the first steps in applying this principle is to embrace the practice of self-reflection. By regularly examining our thoughts, behaviors, and emotions, we can begin to recognize the patterns of cause and effect in our lives. Are we repeating destructive habits? Are we unconsciously creating situations that lead to suffering or frustration? The Kybalion teaches that the first step towards self-mastery is awareness. Only when we become conscious of the causes we are generating can we begin to consciously choose new actions that will lead to more positive outcomes. As we move forward on our spiritual journey, it is important to recognize that personal growth is not a one-time event, but a lifelong process. The Kybalion encourages us to engage in continuous self-improvement. By applying the principle of cause and effect, we can begin to transform our lives, not by chance or external circumstance, but by deliberately choosing the causes we set into motion. Every choice we make is an opportunity to create a better future, and every action we take is a step towards spiritual evolution. The next step, after understanding cause and effect, is to apply the principle of neutralization in our daily lives. Just as the Kybalion teaches us the importance of balance and the law of polarity, we must also learn to neutralize negative effects by changing the causes. This means that instead of reacting to external challenges with frustration or anger, we should neutralize them by cultivating a calm and balanced mindset. By mastering our thoughts and emotions, we can break free from negative cycles and transcend the automatic responses that keep us trapped in unproductive patterns. Finally, the Kybalion encourages us to share the wisdom we have gained with others. As we continue to grow and evolve, it becomes our responsibility to transmit this knowledge to those around us. The more we share the universal truths we discover, the more we contribute to the collective growth of humanity. The Kybalion reminds us that we are part of a larger cosmic order, and by aligning with its laws, we can help bring about a more harmonious and balanced world for future generations. Conclusion: recognizing that the consequences of your choices. In understanding the Kybalion's law of cause and effect, we begin to realize that everything we do, whether it's a thought, an emotion, or an action, sets something into motion. Life is not random. It's governed by an intricate web of causes and consequences. If you want to create a life of purpose, balance, and growth, you must understand this fundamental law. By becoming conscious of the choices you make, you can align yourself with a natural flow of the universe and start manifesting the life you truly desire. Now that you know how cause and effect shape your reality, it's time to apply this knowledge. Every time you face a challenge, think about the cause you're setting into motion. Ask yourself, what do I want to create from this? Recognizing that the consequences of your choices are within your control gives you a powerful tool to shape your destiny. The law isn't just a passive observation. It's a tool for self-mastery. Use it wisely, and you'll unlock a life of deeper awareness and spiritual growth. Finally, as you move forward on your journey, remember that self-reflection is the key. Look at your choices, learn from your past, and take conscious steps toward your future. With perseverance and discipline, you can shape your life according to universal laws that work with you, not against you. Apply the principles of the Kybalion to your daily life, and you'll see how your actions begin to harmonize with the cosmic order. Don't wait for life to happen to you. Create it.